Unmasking the vulnerable side of narcissism. The contradictory nature of vulnerable narcissism presents a complex psychological paradox. At its core, it embodies the coexistence of deep-seated insecurity alongside a facade of invulnerability. This duality confounds both sufferers and observers, making diagnosis and understanding challenging. Understanding narcissism requires peeling back layers of surface-level confidence to reveal the fragility that lies beneath. Traditional views of narcissism focus on grandiosity, but the vulnerable variant hides its insecurities behind a veneer of self-assurance, demanding a deeper exploration. The mask of superiority worn by those with vulnerable narcissism serves as a defense mechanism against an inner sense of inadequacy. This compensatory behavior is a double-edged sword, offering protection from vulnerability while simultaneously reinforcing it through constant validation seeking. Navigating the emotional landscape of the vulnerable narcissist involves understanding the tumultuous inner world that drives their behavior. Their emotional volatility, sensitivity to criticism, and intense reactions to perceived slights stem from an underlying fear of not being good enough. The role of childhood trauma in shaping vulnerable narcissism cannot be underestimated. Early experiences of neglect, abuse, or unmet emotional needs lay the groundwork for the development of narcissistic traits, as individuals learn to cope with pain by adopting these protective but ultimately harmful behaviors. Unveiling the sensitive core of vulnerable narcissists reveals a deep-seated fear of inadequacy. This fear often drives their actions and reactions, as they constantly seek validation to mask their feelings of not being enough. The defensive facade they present is a complex coping mechanism. Vulnerable narcissists construct a superior image to protect themselves from perceived threats to their self-esteem, hiding their insecurities behind a veil of confidence. In the realm of personal relationships, vulnerable narcissists navigate a tumultuous emotional landscape. Their need for admiration and validation clashes with their sensitivity to criticism, leading to strained connections with others. The cycle of neediness and neglect is a defining feature of vulnerable narcissism. This cycle ensnares both the narcissist and their close contacts in a loop of emotional dependency and withdrawal, complicating their interpersonal dynamics. Empathy and vulnerable narcissism share a complicated relationship. While vulnerable narcissists can be highly sensitive to their own emotions, their self-centered perspective often impedes their ability to genuinely empathize with others' feelings. The quest for validation drives the vulnerable narcissist, an unending pursuit rooted in their deep-seated insecurities. Their need for affirmation is a cry for reassurance, a testament to the fear that they might not be enough. Recognizing signs of vulnerable narcissism involves observing the subtle cues hidden behind a facade of confidence. These individuals often exhibit an exaggerated sense of self-importance, yet are quick to feel slighted or misunderstood. The psychological toll on vulnerable narcissists is profound, with anxiety and depression being common companions. Their internal struggle often remains masked by outward bravado, making it challenging to see the pain that lies beneath. The rise of social media has only amplified the behaviors associated with vulnerable narcissism, offering an endless platform for seeking attention and validation. This digital echo chamber reinforces their fears of inadequacy and drives compulsive behavior. Hidden in plain sight, the subtle indicators of vulnerable narcissism include a hypersensitivity to criticism and a constant need for admiration. These traits often go unnoticed, overshadowed by their seemingly confident exterior. The duality of strength and fragility in vulnerable narcissism presents a complex paradox. Individuals display an outer shell of confidence, masking their deep-seated insecurities and fears of inadequacy. This duality challenges common perceptions of narcissism. Navigating therapy with vulnerable narcissists requires sensitivity and expertise. Therapists must penetrate the defensive facade gently, addressing the root causes of their vulnerabilities. It's a delicate balance between affirming their worth and challenging their defense mechanisms. The journey towards healing and growth for vulnerable narcissists involves confronting their fears and embracing vulnerability. It's a transformative process that requires patience, understanding, and a commitment to self-discovery and personal development. Building healthy relationships is a significant challenge for vulnerable narcissists, who often struggle with trust and intimacy. Learning to communicate effectively, set boundaries, and empathize with others can pave the way for more meaningful connections. Coping strategies for vulnerable narcissists focus on building resilience against criticism and rejection. Developing self-awareness, practicing self-compassion, and seeking supportive relationships are crucial steps in fostering a stronger, more secure sense of self. The journey to overcoming vulnerable narcissism starts with self-awareness. Recognizing one's own behaviors and the underlying insecurities that fuel them is the first step towards healing. This awakening can be challenging but is crucial for personal growth. From vulnerability to empowerment, redefining narcissism involves transforming one's self-perception and behaviors. It's about learning to value oneself without the need for external validation, thus breaking the cycle of seeking superiority to mask insecurities. Supporting someone with vulnerable narcissism requires compassion and patience. It's about offering understanding and support without reinforcing the narcissistic behaviors. Encouraging them to seek professional help and showing empathy can make a significant difference in their journey. Unmasking the narcissist, especially for friends and family, means recognizing the subtle signs of vulnerable narcissism. This awareness can foster healthier relationships by setting boundaries and addressing the root causes of the narcissistic behavior in a supportive way. The intersection of vulnerable narcissism with other personality disorders adds complexity to understanding and treating this condition. It requires a nuanced approach to therapy that addresses the full spectrum of an individual's mental health issues, promoting a more holistic healing process. The societal perception of narcissism often leans towards its more overt expressions, overlooking the complexity of its vulnerable side. This oversight perpetuates misunderstandings and stigmatizes those struggling with its less visible aspects. Vulnerable narcissism intersects with other personality disorders, complicating diagnosis and treatment. This overlap can mask the core issues of vulnerable narcissism, making it challenging for professionals to provide targeted support and intervention. In the modern world, narcissism is evolving, adapting to new societal norms and digital landscapes. This evolution challenges our understanding and approaches to narcissism, calling for a nuanced view of its manifestations. Distinguishing vulnerable narcissism from other conditions is critical, yet challenging. The subtle signs often go unnoticed, leading to misinterpretation of behaviors and needs, which can impact the effectiveness of support and interventions. Vulnerable narcissism in the workplace can disrupt team dynamics and performance. Recognizing and addressing it requires sensitivity and a constructive approach, fostering a more inclusive and supportive environment for all employees. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for more insightful content, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support helps us create more videos to educate and empower our viewers.